On the morning of April 16, 1947, the port of Texas City, a busy industrial hub on the Gulf Coast, was already awake. Dock workers loaded cargo. Factory whistles marked the start of shifts. Children were getting ready for school. No one had any reason to believe the city was about to be erased in seconds. Moored at the docks was a French-registered cargo ship, the SS Grand Camp. It had arrived carrying a shipment of ammonium nitrate, a chemical fertilizer widely used after World War II to boost agricultural production. The cargo, more than 2,300 tons, was packed in paper sacks and stacked deep inside the ship's holds. At the time, ammonium nitrate was considered stable and safe when handled properly. Its explosive potential was poorly understood outside military contexts. Shortly after 8 a.m., smoke was noticed rising from one of the ship's cargo holds. Dock workers alerted the crew. Firefighters were called. Instead of flooding the hold with water, the crew attempted to smother the fire by sealing the compartment and pumping in steam. The intention was to save the cargo and prevent water damage. What no one realized was that heat and confinement were the worst possible conditions for ammonium nitrate. As the fire grew, the ship's hull became hot to the touch. Thick orange smoke poured from the hold. Curious residents gathered along the waterfront to watch. Office workers stepped outside. School children lined fences. Fire crews continued working, unaware they were standing next to a massive bomb. At 9:12 a.m., the Grand Camp detonated. The explosion was so powerful it registered on seismographs hundreds of miles away. A blinding flash tore the ship apart, vaporizing it almost instantly. A towering mushroom cloud rose over the harbor. The blast wave flattened buildings, crushed rail cars, and hurled heavy machinery through the air like toys. 2 small airplanes flying nearby were blown out of the sky. The port ceased to exist. Steel beams were twisted, concrete structures collapsed. The nearby Monsanto chemical plant was obliterated, killing workers inside. Fires ignited across the city as fuel tanks ruptured and electrical lines snapped. Windows shattered miles away. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble in seconds. Hundreds of people died instantly. Many more were injured by flying debris, collapsing buildings, and burns. Hospitals were destroyed or overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses treated the wounded in parking lots, schools, and makeshift shelters. With communication lines severed, nearby cities initially had no idea what had happened. As rescue efforts began, the disaster deepened. Another cargo ship, the SS Highflyer, was anchored nearby. It was carrying sulfur and additional ammonium nitrate. It had been damaged by the initial blast and was now on fire. Despite frantic efforts to tow it away, the ship burned throughout the day. Just after 1 a.m. the next morning, the Highflyer exploded. The second blast reignited fires and killed rescuers who had been working through the night. What little remained standing in parts of Texas City was destroyed again. Survivors who had escaped the first explosion now faced another wave of devastation. By the time the fires were extinguished and the rubble cooled, at least 581 people were confirmed dead, though the true number was likely higher. Thousands were injured. Over 5,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed. Nearly the entire city had been flattened. Bodies were found blocks away from the port. Some victims were never identified, others were never found at all. The scale of the disaster shocked the nation. It was the deadliest industrial accident in U.S. history. Yet it had not been caused by war, sabotage, or natural forces. It began with a routine cargo fire and a lack of understanding about the material involved. In the aftermath, lawsuits flooded the courts. Victims and families sued the U.S. government, which had produced and distributed the ammonium nitrate as part of a federal program. The case eventually reached the Supreme Court in what became one of the first major class action lawsuits against the federal government. Some compensation was paid, but no amount could restore what was lost. The Texas City disaster forced changes in how hazardous materials were labeled, stored, and transported. It reshaped industrial safety standards and emergency response planning. But those reforms came after a city paid the price for assumptions that proved fatal. On April 16, 1947, Texas City did not face an enemy attack. It faced a ship at its dock, a fire in its hold, a cargo no one fully understood. And in a single instant, an ordinary morning became a catastrophe that erased a city and left a permanent scar on industrial history.